There is a pattern, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Watch the people around you. Watch what they announce. The new diet starts Monday. The business launches next month. The transformation begins after the new year. Watch how much energy goes into the declaration. Watch how little goes into the execution. Most people are not building anything. They are performing the idea of building. And the audience they are performing for is the very thing that keeps them stuck. This is not a judgment. It is an observation. The need for external validation is deeply human. We want to be seen. We want to be acknowledged. We want someone to confirm that what we are pursuing matters. But here's the problem with that. When you seek validation before you have results, you are spending energy that belongs to the process. You are trading real progress for the feeling of progress. And those two things are not the same. The people who quietly change their lives understand something that most people never figure out. Silence is not absence. Silence is strategy. Disappearing is not giving up. It is not depression. It is not weakness. Disappearing is a deliberate decision to remove yourself from environments and audiences that are not aligned with where you are trying to go. It is a choice, a calculated one, and it takes more strength to make than most people are willing to admit. Because disappearing means tolerating misunderstanding. It means letting people think what they want. It means releasing the need to explain yourself to people who were never really invested in your outcome to begin with. When you disappear, you stop performing. You stop updating. You stop seeking approval from people who have no stake in your growth. You remove yourself from conversations that drain you. You limit time with people who unconsciously discourage your ambition, not out of malice, but out of their own comfort with mediocrity. You reduce noise. Not all noise is loud. Some of it is the constant scroll, the endless comparison, the opinions that flood in before you have had a chance to form your own. That is noise too, and it costs more than most people calculate. Disappearing means you stop explaining your decisions. Every time you explain yourself to someone who did not ask in good faith, you are spending emotional energy that belongs to your discipline. You are seeking permission from people who do not have authority over your life. Stop explaining. Just build. The results will be the only explanation that carries weight. Now, here is where it becomes uncomfortable, because disappearing is only the first part. The second part is the one that reveals your character. Rebuilding. Rebuilding is not what people imagine it to be. It is not a montage. There is no dramatic music. There is no moment where everything clicks in one afternoon. Rebuilding is slow. It is repetitive. It is, on most days, deeply unglamorous. It is waking up when you do not feel like it. It is maintaining discipline when motivation is completely absent. It is doing the work on the days when nothing feels like it is working. And before you can rebuild anything real, you have to do something that most people actively avoid. You have to look at yourself honestly, not the version of yourself you present online, not the version you describe to people who ask how you are doing, the actual version, the one with the weak habits, the one with the inconsistencies. The one who knows exactly which decisions have been keeping you behind, but has found comfortable ways to avoid confronting them. Rebuilding starts there, in that honest, uncomfortable space, because you cannot construct something solid on a foundation you have refused to inspect. Look at your habits, not your goals. Your habits. Because your habits are not your aspirations, they are your actual operating system. The goals tell you what you want. The habits tell you what you are currently programmed to produce. And those two things are often in direct conflict. If your daily behavior does not match your stated direction, nothing changes. Not because the universe is working against you, but because behavior, repeated daily, is what produces results. Not intention, behavior. Look at your discipline, specifically where it breaks down. Everyone has discipline in one area and almost none in another. You might be exceptional at your work and completely undisciplined with sleep, or with food, or with how you manage your attention. The weak points matter because the chain does not hold at its strongest link, it breaks at its weakest. And during the rebuilding phase, you identify the breaks. You sit with them. You address them methodically, not aggressively, not with shame, just with precision and consistency. Train your body. This is not about vanity. A disciplined body is evidence of a disciplined mind. When you build the habit of training physically, you are doing something that extends far beyond the physical. You are practicing the act of doing difficult things when you do not want to. You are proving to yourself repeatedly that discomfort is not a reason to stop. That lesson transfers. It transfers into every other area of your life. The person who earns physical discipline is building a psychological framework that will carry them through every difficult season they face. Strengthen your mind. Read. Study. Think without distraction. Spend time in your own thoughts rather than constantly filling silence with input. The rebuilding phase is where you develop clarity about who you actually are and what you actually want. Separate from external pressure and social expectation. This is rare. Most people never develop it because it requires sitting in silence long enough to hear yourself think. And that kind of silence is uncomfortable for people who have not practiced it. Upgrade your skills. The world rewards people who are genuinely good at things. Not people who are present, not people who are likable, people who are competent. During the disappearing phase, you have time and attention that you have reclaimed from distractions. Invest that directly into becoming more capable. Learn what you need to learn. Practice what needs to be practiced. Build leverage. Leverage is not built in one dramatic effort. It is built in accumulated small decisions made consistently over time. Raise your standards quietly, not performatively, not so that other people can see them, but so that you feel the difference internally. Standards are not restrictions, they are the architecture of self-respect. When you raise your standards, you change what you tolerate, in yourself and in your environment. And that shift is slow, but it compounds. This process, the repeating of it, the unglamorous daily execution of it, that is where real transformation happens. Not in the announcement, not in the moment of inspiration, in the repetition, in the discipline applied on the unremarkable Tuesday when no one is watching and nothing feels significant. Now, there is something important to understand about the return, because eventually the work becomes visible. Eventually, the gap between where you were and where you are becomes undeniable. And the return matters. Because there are two ways a person can come back after a period of intense private growth. The first way is loud. The person returns with an announcement, with a highlight reel, with a posture that says, "Look at what I have done. Look at how far I have come." And there is nothing wrong with sharing progress. But when the return is primarily about being seen, when the motivation is external validation again, the pattern has not changed. Only the content of the performance has changed. The second way is quiet. The person simply shows up differently. They do not need to explain the transformation. They do not need to announce it. The results are present. The behavior is consistent. The standards are evident. The calm is unmistakable. There is a different kind of authority in a person who has rebuilt themselves in silence. It is not loudness. It is not aggression. It is a settled confidence. The kind that does not need to argue for itself. The kind that simply is. That is what returning unstoppable actually looks like. Not louder, stronger, not more visible, more precise. The person who returns from a genuine rebuilding period is not the same person who left. Not in the dramatic, performative sense, but in the quiet, foundational sense. The responses are different. The decisions are different. The tolerance for nonsense is different. The clarity about time and energy is different. The emotional reactions are more controlled, not because the emotions are suppressed, but because the foundation is more stable. Think about the contrast. One person struggles publicly. Every difficult period becomes content. Every obstacle becomes a story told in real time. And the attention that comes from that becomes its own kind of drug. Because attention, even attention born from sympathy, feels like connection. But it is not building anything. It is broadcasting the raw material without ever constructing the structure. The other person withdraws when things are difficult, uses the difficulty as information, uses the discomfort as instruction, does not need witnesses to validate the struggle, keeps building, and when they come back, there is something there that was not there before, something real. Stop explaining yourself to people who are comfortable where they are. Stop announcing timelines that become pressure without structure. Stop waiting for motivation as if it is something that arrives from the outside. Motivation is not the starting point. Discipline is the starting point. Discipline produces momentum. Momentum, over time, produces results that are visible. And results are the only language that does not require interpretation. The work does not care about your feelings on a given morning. The work does not care whether you slept well or whether circumstances are ideal. The work simply waits. And a person who shows up for it consistently, quietly, and without an audience, that person accumulates something that cannot be faked, cannot be bought, cannot be copied, can only be earned through the process that most people are not willing to sustain. Disappear. Not forever, not out of defeat, out of intention. Rebuild, not perfectly, not without struggle, but honestly and without shortcuts. Return, not with noise, with results. With a calmness that comes from knowing exactly what you went through and exactly what it cost you. That kind of return does not need a stage. It does not need applause. It speaks for itself. If you are in the process right now, if you are in the silent season, if you are doing the unglamorous work while the world around you performs and announces and awaits for recognition, do not break the silence prematurely. Trust the process you are in. The work is accumulating. The foundation is being built. And what is built correctly, in private, holds weight that nothing built for an audience ever will. This is not for everyone, but it is for you. If you are rebuilding in silence, right now, in whatever area of your life requires it, leave one comment, 2 words, silent comeback. That is all. No explanation needed. Just a signal from one person doing the work to another. The work continues.